what's up, YouTube family? How you doing? This is Greg Tate.
And this is Maisha Tate.
And together we're better known as TeamTate Ministries. We're back for another edition of Tuesday with TeamTate.
Yeah, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for?
What you waiting for?
Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell, be notified every time we're on.
Do it now.
Yes, and please share. We want you to comment. Please engage us as we're building community around what we're doing today.
Absolutely. We got another good one for you because it comes from God himself and not from my head or Maisha's head. It is entitled Stinking Thinking.
Stinking Thinking. We can always use a refresher in this, Greg.
Absolutely. Stinking Thinking. And we're going to come right out of the text because that's how we do it, from Numbers 13, verse 32 and 33. And it says something like this. And they gave the children of Israel a bad report of the land which they had spied out, saying, the land through which we have gone as spies is a land that devours its inhabitants. And all the people whom we saw in it are men of great stature. There we saw the giants, the descendants of Enoch came from the giants. And we were like grasshoppers in our own sight. And so we were in their sight.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Stinking thinking right there, 101. Brief context of what's going on is the children of Israel just left Egypt. They're gone. They have all the spoils of Egypt. They have all the gold, the silver, and God has already split the Red Sea, and they've gone across, and Moses said, you know what? This land looks good. He sent out some spies saying, you know what? Go check it out, see what we're about to head into. And they came back. Remember, he said 12. And 10 of them right here is their account right here is saying, hey, the land's good and everything. Everything's huge. Everything's great. You know, everything is nice. But there's some big folks on that land.
Yeah, that's the modern day Greg translation.
Yep.
But this land was the promised land. This was promised by God for them. And I think that this is really phenomenal because how many of us have been given a promise by God? And when we actually lay eyes on it, it's beautiful and it's everything we could have ever imagined and even hoped for, yet there's someone occupying it.
Or something.
Or it seems too big for us to really take on. And so I really identify, I wish I could say that I'm the ones, you know, the two of the spies that came back and said that we can take the land. We got this. I think sometimes I am. On other days, I might be like these spies who are like, well, we're like grasshoppers in their sight. They're huge. They're big. These men over there are big. We can't do this.
Right. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
There's times where I'm like Joshua and Caleb, like, what are you scared for? What you scared for? What you scared for? You know, I ain't never scared. And then some days like, dude, this is too much.
Yeah.
Because sometimes what God really has for you, if you really look at it with your physical eyes, or if you look at it with your mind's eye, you can see that, you know what, this is much bigger than I've ever expected. This is something much grander that I can even think or imagine. That's what the scripture says. This is something, you know, that goes far beyond what my parents thought of me, what my grandparents thought of me. This is much bigger than what I have prayed for. And this thing is massive and it engulfs me.
Yeah.
So let me stop right there. What you are praying about does not scare you, you might want to think about what you're praying for.
Yeah.
For your own life.
Yeah.
Because you know what? God's plan is so much grander, so much bigger than what you ever could think or imagine. It's going to take a God like our Father to step in to make this thing happen.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you pointed that out because oftentimes we get a promise from God and we try to put it into our own context. You know, we try to fit it into what we've known, what we've seen, and, you know, what we feel comfortable with.
Ah, that's a good point. That's a good word right there.
When God gives you a promise, it's always going to be bigger because God is thinking in a macro way,
right?
If you will. And we tend to think micro. And I think that, you know, every thought that you have doesn't belong to you.
Right.
So the enemy sometimes loves to use the mind as a weapon against you so that you don't reach the promised land, so that you don't go and take the territory that God has already given you.
Right. And it comes right here. You know what? It's emotional, it's spiritual, but you know what? It all sometimes it narrows down right to what's between your ears right here and what you're thinking. You know what? Your mind can stop you from making a decision that's good for you. Your mind can stop you for making a choice that you're at a crossroads, or should I go this way? It's a lot easier, or should I go this way? It's a lot harder. But your mind is telling you, I'm not in for that joyride of pain coming through, coming on right now. And so many times, I wonder, because I can only think about myself, but I wonder how many of y'all have had thoughts that have stopped you from progressing what God has told you that is yours.
Yeah.
You had some stinking thinking. You had some things that God promised you, but you thought small of yourself.
Yes.
God promised you something over here, but you thought, it's too great and it's too much of a journey to get that. I'm going to stay small and stay put right here.
Yeah.
How many of y'all thought, someone negatively spoke over your life and spoke into you, say, you're no good and you're not this. You're just going to be just like your daddy, or you're going to be just like your mama. You're not going to be anything, and you have allowed those thoughts to lay hold of you and lay captive of you and rest an anchor in your mind that that's all you think about when you're venturing out and trying to do something for yourself. But I want to tell you and to give you encouragement that God came and Jesus came to break that stinking thinking over your life.
Yes, and it's so critical who you listen to, what you're feeding your mind. If you're having a lot of stinking thinking, think about whatever you've been feeding your mind. Have you been listening to a lot of negative news, have you been scrolling a lot on your social media and seeing a lot of negativity? Do the people around you speak negatively all the time?
Very good.
What is your circle like? So I think that's very important, that the only way to kill the flesh is to starve it.
Right.
And so I'm not saying stop watching TV, stop being on social media completely, being extreme about it. What I'm saying is have the self-awareness and spiritually discern what parts of me have I allowed and opened a door maybe to this kinds of thinking. And God will expand your thoughts. He'll give you the mind of Christ.
Absolutely.
He'll give you the mind of Christ if you ask him.
Absolutely.
And it says in the word, I'm sorry, Greg, that if you keep your mind stayed on him, he'll keep your mind in perfect peace.
Absolutely. Listen, I love the fact that you said to take a mental inventory of what's going on.
Yeah.
Find out what are you allowing inside, because what you put in is going to come out.
Absolutely.
The Bible is clear about that. So I want to just encourage you. We want to encourage you that sometimes it's not the situation that is too robust and too big for you. Sometimes it's just your mental thinking process that is stopping you, that's blocking you for what God has called you to do, what God has called you to be, where God has placed you to be at. Sometimes, it seems scary, and it is scary. Faith sometimes is scary. Sometimes it is the unknown. We can't see sometimes.
It is the unknown, not sometimes.
Exactly. It is the unknown. We are, physically and mentally in this realm, our flesh is going haywire. But our spirits, if you really tap into it, they're cheering us on like, we got this.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't care what we look like. They're small to us. We're not small to them. It's a mindset, to have a winner's mindset, that every time you step on that field, and every time you step in that job, and every time you step in that house, and every time you step in that church, and every time you step outside with that child, I'm going to win something today. The atmosphere is going to bend to me. I'm not going to bend to it. You know what? I'm going to call those things as though they were, and they're going to manifest in front of our eyes. I'm going to have a winning mindset. I'm not going to have this stinking thinking. I've been imprisoned in my mind too much and too long for it to happen. You know what? I'm chasing after what God has for me.
Absolutely. Wow. That was good. Just prophesy and declare those things over yourself, and allow the Holy Spirit to partner with you in this journey of getting rid of stinking thinking.
Stinking thinking.
Yeah, because we can overcome that thing. We are more than conquerors through him that loved us.
Absolutely. You know what? Your mind, do not let it be a hurdle, but let it be a portal in which God can transform miracles, signs, and wonders to your life.
Absolutely.
Maisha, do you want anything else to say?
No, I think we covered it. We could go on and on about this subject. Joyce Myers, one of my favorite teachers, evangelists, wrote a book called The Battlefield of the Mind. It's one of the most amazing Christian books ever written. I wouldn't even just say Christian books. Anybody who reads that book will understand and get to know themselves a lot better. and understand how to overcome stinking thinking. So I just want to recommend that book as well as a tool to help you overcome stinking thinking.
I want to recommend a book too.
Okay.
It's the book that I love. It's called Winners.
Oh yeah.
I love that book. It is an interview with a bunch of people that have from different genres and different backgrounds, from the Queen of England to a former president to athletes to governor officials, on how they thought through some of the toughest things that they had to go through and came up on top of their situation. I definitely want to recommend Winners because that is one incredible book.
It is, and Greg steals, you guys. He stole that from me.
I did not steal. I just happened to see it and I took advantage of it. Don't be mad.
It's my book,
Don't be mad.
and I decided to do a sermon on it because the book is amazing. It's one of my favorite leadership books. But anyway, I shared it with him.
She got to preach before me.
And
that's
now
why.
he loves the book.
Yeah, she got to preach before
so
me. That's
y'all
all.
love the book too. Go get it today.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
you know what?
Appreciate y'all.
We appreciate y'all. Be blessed. Listen, get rid of that stinking thinking. You're more than a conqueror.